Welcome guys, it's Glenn from Launch. Today's video is on another diesel vehicle because we're getting more and more of them happening every day now. One of the reasons why we have a lot here, and other countries do too, but here where I am, a lot of the diesel vehicles are actually not traveling very far. They're in the city, they're in small towns and everything, but they don't do very long runs between the cities or the towns, and they don't do that many country runs. There is a few vehicles that do it, but a lot of them don't. So one of the problems is with these vehicles is the temperatures, and also when they do need the DPF regeneration to happen in a dynamic status, it doesn't get completed because one, the vehicles are either stopping and starting, or they're doing a too short a run and they stop and then the cycle stopped again. And this is happening a lot more these days here, regarding because the vehicles are getting older. And so one of the biggest problems is the vehicles are not running long enough or in longer distances to complete the DPF generation burn off. Now in this video today, I'm going to show you on a Renault Trafic. Now it's a Trafic 3, it's around the 2018 I'm sure, but the problem is the workshop itself, when I was there, he asked me just to check it to confirm it before they changed the component, but they already ordered the DPF filter, the complete kit. Now they can be quite expensive in a lot of these vehicles now. So he just wanted to check it and confirm it if there's no other thing causing it. So what I thought I'd do is I share this video today on some of the data we just checked together, and the video is in two sort of parts. The first part is before the DPF filter was changed, and then the after. Now before, I had to cut off the sound. Today I'm using a Launch Pad V on this vehicle and recorded the sound, and the sound was actually too noisy, so what I did is I cut it off. So during this first part of this video I will go through each of the steps and I'll just talk about it. But the second part, after the filter was changed, I recorded it live then, and then I'll share that with you while I recorded on the scan tool on the day that it was repaired to just check the data again. Now there's plenty of videos regarding these vehicles because it's a very common problem with these Trafic 3s, and they are labelled in different names in different countries. A Vauxhall is one of them. They actually have the van, which is the same sort of van, same engine and so forth, and they have the same issues. But the DPF filter itself might change in its shape or design depending on which model it is. Now with this video I'll cover it and then I'll go through each step with you. Now what I'll do is I'll just go into the scan tool itself, and like we normally do. So you know me now where I just go through each step, and this is just purely to show new users of the Launch products on the scan tools how to go through it, and go through to each part of the data or the fault codes. Now you can see that this vehicle had a fault. The engine lights were on and there was no power too. This is the funny thing about this vehicle. There was very little power, and it would not go to the regeneration in dynamic at all, or even they try to do static. So we'll just go into diagnostics. We'll just follow through. As this is recorded, we'll just do the automatic search. Now normally, as you know, if you've watched my other videos, I always go through each step regarding the scanning of all the modules, and then we have a brief look at the codes themselves. So this is a Trafic 3. So the topology on the pad series, we will go through and use it. Now this vehicle, I think, I suspected that it had battery issues too, because he was jump starting it. So some of these faults will be related to the battery, but the DPF was another issue itself. That's why I was into the workshop itself. I think it got towed into the workshop. So we'll have a quick look at these. As said, what we do is we'll do the report. I keep the report and save it, and we'll have a look at the report. Now in the report itself, you can see that it's got the DPF filter clog, which is pretty common with these models. And regarding the multiplex signals of the cruise control and the speed limit, usually this fault will occur if there's an engine fault which is major. Usually it deactivates the cruise controls and so forth. So you might find this fault occur, not that there's something wrong with the system. It can occur with a fat battery, or when a fault with the engine is triggered by some other major component. So I'm not terribly concerned about this present moment, but that's why this fault probably shows up a lot when you do a DPF clog fault when you see it. Now the other fault regarding the tolerances, the 200291 is a big number. As I said, the tolerances. So the DPF was getting out of its tolerances. So I'm expecting to see a very high number in the DPF range. The other oil sensors and so forth, again, I think it's related to the battery. So I wasn't concerned about these faults. And the other one was the PAS. I don't know who worked on this vehicle before this workshop. It could be a number of them, and that's what I'm finding more and more these days. There's a lot of workshops and a lot of people actually doing things with programming and so forth. You've got to be very careful, and sometimes the configurations are not matched. But at this case, I wasn't concerned about it because I wasn't there for that reason. So what we'll do is we'll go further, and what I normally do is I'll clear the fault codes and then go again in most cases. But this one here, we're here for the DPF fault. So what we did is I left all the faults within regarding the DPF, and then we moved on forward. So we just go in. Now this vehicle too, when you do the diagnostics on it, if you're too long, sometimes it goes to sleep. Just have to make sure, because the vehicle tends to go to sleep over a certain period of time. So we'll just go into the ECM. It had 3 faults, which you've seen there before. Now this is what time it takes. I haven't shortened the video too much at all, but purely to show you this does how it, at this present moment it's clearing the faults. Okay, so the other one is the PAS, but I said that was a configuration fault. So we weren't concerned about that, and I wasn't going to worry about it at this stage. So I'm not sure what was the outcome. So we just go into it, and we'll go to the ECM data. And with the event Renaults and everything, you can see now we can actually see the injector coding, and even down the key coding. I usually take a snapshot of this just for my own records, and if I need to do something regarding the ECM, I will bring this record back if I need to. That's why I took a snapshot of it. So we just go back further. Now the very first thing is I'll go to the data stream, and I'll go down to related to the DPF itself. So we'll just get a couple of the items. The reason why I could do a shortcut and just enter the key and shortcut each, all you've got to do is type in the first name and it'll bring it up a lot easier. But I thought I'd show you the amount of data stream on this vehicle for the new users. So we just come down. You can see there's so much data. Don't get confused about the amount of items. Just choose the areas that is related to that, and then you can go back later and look at other areas regarding the data stream itself. It can be overwhelming, the amount of data and information you can get, but again, just pick the areas related to that particular sensor, or say for this case this filter, and and regarding the DPF on this case. Some things I missed because I've gone through it. So again, what I can see straight away with this part of the video recording is the pressure differential is up to 45. I know they should be nowhere near that. So this tends to be blocked. I can see that straight away. They should run a lot lower than that. So I'll go a little bit further, and I'll go back in, I think, and we'll get some more data bits. You can stop and start this video in each section, so this is why I extend it. I do. So again, we go back into the data, and now what I'm going to do is I'll just increase the data pits itself so I can show you a bit more regarding the soot levels and so forth. I'll just go through it all. And as I said, these videos are purely for new users and give you extra training regarding diagnosing via the data itself when you have other tools you can use. So we'll select these items. I tend to stick to the same items. If I have missed one or two, sometimes I do. So I'll go back and reselect them again. This is just to show you how a process that I do all the time. I don't skip, thinking, oh, I know what the fault is. Yes, it may be the same fault, but I double check because there's always going to be a curveball around that one's going to bite you, and you think you know it, but you don't. So again, let's have a look at these figures. So you can see now the DPF pressure differential is around 50 HPA. Now that's too high. So it should be, they run around 10, 20, depending upon how the RPM of the vehicle and the temperature and the condition of that vehicle, and also the condition of that DPF itself. And you can see the soot particular filter is 74%, 74 grams. So we're getting up to far too much. So it's definitely have issues. And the other thing I looked at is the temperature of the upstream of the particular filter and its voltage. I look at that sometimes because it's a clear indication that it's getting too high before the particular filter, because it's getting blocked. So we just go a little bit further now, and you can see the temperatures are fluctuating. But you can also see the temperature sensor voltage. Now take note of this, because you'll see after the repair done, this voltage is lower, and it's quick indication that there's something not right with this temperature, or maybe the temperature sensor is faulty, but you should see change happening. But it's definitely, this got issues regarding this. Now, talking about this, they already put a cleaner through this vehicle. I don't know why they did the regeneration, but they reckon they couldn't. But they actually put a DPF cleaner through it, and I don't think it was enough, or it wasn't completed enough. So because it's still blocked, but they decided to purchase a new DPF filter. So we'll go back into that area. So it's definitely blocked. So what I'll do is I record the data. Now with the launch scan tools, you can record it and make sure you put it at idle, because that's where it was. And I use a record around 10-20 seconds of it. It just gives me a reference of sample, good or bad, and it can be handy while you're doing the diagnosis of the vehicle itself, before and after the repair. So I just do a bit of record here, and we'll just wait for that to finish, because I can actually bring it back as a sample, and I'll show you the sample regarding this when I finish this record. So here's the sample. So just to explain, you can actually bring this back in your live data when you select it. So if you go to your settings and where the sample data of the scan tool, which is usually in your information area under reports, there'll be a live data, or in the data stream you'll have sample comparison, so you can go there and select it, and then you can actually also alter the maximum and minimum if you wanted to. So if you know what the figures roughly are, you can change them here in this area and then save it, and then you can use it as in future information. So I save it, and you can call it any name in your file name. The only thing is you can't share it. You can share it between scanner and scanner, the same one, but you can't read it live. So we'll go back. Now, what I explained to you before is the next part of this video is going to be the after the repair. So what the workshop did is I think they purchased an aftermarket one. I don't know, it was OEM. And what they've done is they fitted it, and then they left everything alone. They didn't clear the faults. They didn't do anything until I came back and had a look at it. So what I do now is the next part is I look at it, and I recorded the sound when I did do it. So bear with me.
Trafic 3. So we're just going to go back into it. What they've done is they've changed over the DPF unit, and we're just going to have a look at the data regarding this. So I'll just make sure that all the ignition's on. We'll go into Diagnosis. So the figures were up before, so what we'll do is we'll go into the scan, and this is a keyless entry unit, so we'll quickly go in there like we always do. So they had a number of DPF faults was clogged on this unit. They put cleaner in it, through it and everything, and it didn't seem to work, I don't think. But they didn't even do a regeneration, so they decided just to change over the DPF itself. So they got a replacement. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over and look at the fault codes in the engine. So this is the previous faults that haven't been cleared yet, and you can see regarding the particular filter. So we'll go into this and excuse me, and what we'll do is we'll read the data stream regarding this, and we'll have a look at the slip levels. Okay, this is previous. The vehicle hasn't been started yet since they've changed anything, so we're expecting to see the soot levels, which was around the 74.
Now I'll just jump in here. Now the figures themselves, remember this is a DPF that has been replaced, a brand new one. Now I expected this is with the ignition just turned on. Now with these Renaults themselves, the figures are not updated until you actually start the vehicle and drive it. Especially the soot filter, soot in the filter. You can see it's 74 now, but once I started to drive the vehicle, it will actually change. Now regarding the DPF sensor itself, it looks like it's working because it's set at 0. This is good indication that it's not a figure. If I read a figure straight here at this point in time on the differential pressure, I'd be looking that it could be a sensor problem. So, but it actually went to 0 HPA, so I'm assuming that the sensor was good. So we'll just go a little bit further, and
which you can see. So what we need to do first is we need to go back and tell it that it has a new replacement DPF. So we need to look at that. So we adaptive after replacement of DPF filter. So we enter that. So, and yes, the ignition is on. It goes to sleep, so you just got to make sure that the ignition is on. I press OK. That's progress. Takes a little bit of time. Okay, and now it's completed. So we press OK. Now we'll go back and look at the data stream that I selected before previously. More so the soot levels. So we'll come down to soot level. So these are what the readings I selected before. And soot levels. Select OK. And nothing's changed yet. So we need to actually start the vehicle up and look at this further, because we do not know whether the sensors or anything are right in this vehicle. I'll get back to you when I have a look at that. Now, after driving it for a while, you can see the readings are coming down. More driving I do, the calculation. So be careful that the soot level is a calculation live. It doesn't mean that the total amount. So you just got to be checked to make sure the flows are okay and the correction is low, and that the soot in particular filter is regulated down, which this was a lot higher number, is in the 70s and more.
Okay, so this part of the video now is where I basically took it for a drive, and I was actually on the street recording this. The vehicle was just idling and so forth, but you can see the figures regarding the particular filter's pressure differentiation. Now it was 25 at that point in time. They usually go lower than that, and this could be a number of reasons: the other part of the exhaust system, or the actual DPF itself might have a slight restriction in its flow rate going through it for some reason. It might be slightly different, but these figures start to come down. Now I'd expected to see under 10 or so at idle, but as I said, more I drove this vehicle, the figures came down. Now the other thing I want to mention here is have a look at the voltage of the sensor. Remember, it was up to the 4. Now it's actually down to around 1400 millivolts. So the sensor is operating a lot better and a lot cooler. So just a quick indication that this is a few readings that you can actually read, especially on these Renault Trafic III, to determine whether the DPF is blocked or doing a job. Now, regarding the cleaners themselves, the cleaners do work depending upon how bad it is. And also some of these DPF filters, if they're overheated, and they will get overheated if they can't clean, they just basically cook themselves, they're beyond repair, so they will need replacing. Now, this is not to say that it has damage physically to the actual DPF itself. So a lot of caution, but yes, these DPFs can be expensive to change. But as I said, they are coming better with aftermarket replacements, but to just double check these figures. So I hope you enjoy and got something out of this short video, and I'll catch you in the next one.